Everybody Hates Rand is a Wheel of Time podcast that will contain spoilers for all 14 books. So if you're anti-spoiler, pause this, read all 14 books, and come back. We'll be here, waiting.
Our title is a joke and is meant to be taken as such. In the context of this podcast, everybody refers to us and our cat. You are free to feel however you want about Rand, who is a fictional character. Don't DM us.
The world is a mess, Dark One stretching out his hand. The dragon's reborn, the fire's been fanned, but everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand. Everybody hates Rand.
I feel like this podcast should start with a funeral dirge because it's the end of an era. The era in which Chris Jusha was ignorant of this podcast's existence.
Yeah, what song should we sing?
Yeah, I don't know, but it's a sad day. I had to tell Chris Jusha over sandwiches at the restaurant called The Village Baker in Pleasant Grove, Utah.
I'm sorry that you had to do that.
It took about 10 full minutes for me to fully explain what Patreon was. He was pretty befuddled by that one.
It's like, people pay you to be an absolute fucking idiot?
He just didn't understand how the site worked, what it was, how people find it. It was like trying, I can't go into it. We can't keep doing this, Daniel. It was a pretty upsetting time.
If you, like Chris Jusha, struggle to find us on Patreon, but you want to support us for either $1, $3, or $5 American dollars a month, you can find it easily by typing into your search bar www.patreon.com/everybodyhatesrand. That'll take you right to the homepage where you can pledge some of your hard-earned cash to these fine ladies.
These fine women.
I'm not quite ready to talk about Wheel of Time yet. Do you have some
Okay.
other shenanigans we can talk about?
But it was good chapters.
I know, but...
Okay, are you ready to talk about Wheel of Time yet?
yeah, I was trying to think of a joke.
I'm gonna bleep all of that out into a single censor beep.
Why?
It'll last for 9 minutes.
Okay.
This is Everybody Hates Rand, your friendly neighborhood Wheel of Time podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Emily Jusha.
And I'm Sally Gutcher.
Whenever I say we're their hosts, I feel like I'm welcoming them into a mansion where I'm going to murder them. Like in Clue.
I was...
Colonel Mustard.
I'm Colonel Mustard.
What? I wanted Colonel
You can
Mustard.
be Colonel Mustard. I'll be the sexy purple lady.
I thought the sexy lady was red.
Maybe she is.
But I know there's a purple lady too, and she's probably equally sexy because all women are equally sexy.
Except for conservatives.
Which Mrs. White, the housekeeper, probably is, given
sure.
her age.
100%. Just
Yeah.
kidding. You can be sexy and evil, but I just, don't find you personally as sexy.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm trying to say. Welcome to our murder house. We're going to murder you with this sick analysis.
Of the 2 best chapters in definitely this book, if not the entire series. Well,
Breaking the Stone of Tears is just such a good chapter.
I know. It's, let's say, top 5.
It's just that he's so hot.
He really is, literally and metaphorically in this
Yeah,
chapter.
he's a sweaty, sticky boy.
Yeah, we pick up in the Stone of Tear, and the way Edwene describes the heat is so funny, because it's like she
You didn't
just...
pick up in the Stone of Tear.
Did I say the Stone of Tear? I meant the ale waste, because I'm good at geography.
What? Did I say Germany? I meant Saudi Arabia.
They got mixed up in my head.
Okay.
The Stone of Tear and the ale waste are the only 2 settings in this book that are relevant, because, fuck the 2 rivers, you know?
What about Tanchico?
Also kind of fuck Tanchico.
Okay.
You...
I'm here.
Pull it together.
I'm here. I'm present.
Keep it together, man. Anyway, the way Edwene... Are you okay?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't turn my on to look at Instagram. It's okay. We're in the Stone of Deer.
Fuck you. When I said you could be the manic one, I didn't mean immediately start acting as though you've had so much rum to drink.
I haven't had anything to drink today.
Acting like it. She's now turtling in her sweater.
Okay, we open on Jaime Lannister riding his horse up the stairs of the keep. Egg is like, fuck, it's hot in here. And then Matt is just like wringing sweat out of his hat. He doesn't have his hat yet.
Oh yeah, it's a big character shift in this book, I guess. Egg's like, wow, it's so fucking sweaty. Literally all the moisture just got sucked out of my body in one foul breath of the desert. And I, born in Utah, relate.
Yeah.
It is so hot here sometimes. It's so hot. It's a desert.
Yeah, when you just step outside in August and you're like, oh.
Yeah, sometimes you step outside in August and it's like being punched in the face by heat.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the heat is like, I hate you personally and I want to kill you. And you're like, thank you, malevolent desert. I too wish I was dead.
Correct.
Yeah. So anyway, they're all in the ale waste and they kind of look around. Edwin's like, water. Aquacola. Isn't that what they call it in Mad Max Fury Road?
Aquacola?
I think so.
Maybe.
Anyway, then there's a lizard that Gaul eats, obviously.
Yeah. Gaul's not even here. What the fuck is
Matt
the point?
eats it. Yeah, why isn't Gaul here? All the ale stuff would be so much more interesting if Gaul was just there.
Listen, what if Egg had to fall in love with a man? Why couldn't it have been Gaul instead of Gawain?
That's so true.
Yeah, right?
I always just want to substitute every shitty love interest in any book series. It doesn't matter if it's the Wheel of Time with Gaul, because he's the ideal man.
It's true.
He's done nothing wrong.
He's also drinking his Respect Women juice.
Yeah. And also, he's just so funny. He's so
funny, and he's so tall.
He's so fucking hilarious. And he's super tall.
He's very tall. But anyway, Egg's like, it's fucking hot, and then Lan dumps a whole bottle of water on her head.
Lan's like, I must care for these women who are in full dresses.
Yeah.
So that sort of makes sense. But he's just like, okay, you have to stay hydrated and dump a lot of water on your head. And they'll like, it's pretty funny. Rand and Matt and all the white people basically have like these wet washcloths around their heads, which reminds me of me when I went to church camp in Wyoming. Yeah, pretty buck wild.
Your life is just one wild thing after the next.
My life is one church activity that I didn't want to be at after another. It's pretty brutal adolescence. Anyway, and now I'm gay.
Welcome, Chris.
Have I said a fuck word yet?
You just did.
Oh, I did. Okay.
Have I said a fuck word? Don't swear.
Don't swear! It's my mom. My dad cares a lot less about swearing, but the graphic sexual content I feel that we usually get into, we've probably already gotten into. No, we haven't said, we've just said Gaul's really tall and therefore he's good boyfriend material.
Yeah, I mean, that's my number one priority.
Yeah.
How tall are you? Would you have comfortable hoodies based on how tall you are?
I love comfortable hoodies.
Exactly.
Anyway, Egg looks around and is like, okay, this is weird. We're on a little hillside, and out in the distance, there's like the desert basin, and in the middle of it is a big bank of fog, just like in the middle of nowhere. Mm-hmm. Perfectly round, I imagine.
Yeah.
Perfectly
like spherical, like
half spherical or something.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, that's odd. Maybe Rand isn't crazy. And Rand, in a show of restraint that can only be described as uncharacteristic, does not brag about how right he was.
Yeah.
But Edwin notices up on the hillside there are 3 camps, two kind of farther away from each other, and then one much smaller one in the middle. And the Ale look around, are like, we were just magically teleported thousands of miles, I assume, and are like, well, peace out.
Yeah.
And start packing up and leaving. Because that's the type of folk they are.
Yeah.
And I love and respect them for it. They're just like, can't be bothered.
Time to go home.
They're like, well, we got here. Great. Couple months ahead of schedule. Debbie will be surprised. Debbie's their collective wife, I guess.
Of course. Yeah.
Debbie will be surprised.
Archetypal wife.
To say the least. Every wife is named Debbie. Everyone knows that.
Yeah, when you get married, you have to change your name.
Legally to Debbie. If your name isn't Debbie, then you're breaking the law.
Yeah, so...
Most people don't know that.
Yeah, looking at you, Sarah Jushaw.
Yeah, Sarah. Gotta change your name to Debbie. That's how they get you in the dystopian Handmaid's Tale.
Oh my
If
God.
your name isn't Debbie, then they're like, you're breaking the law. We can legally arrest you.
Yeah.
And, do fascist crimes to you.
Yeah. That'll be our next graphic novel after Teen Narc.
Margaret Atwood didn't include that in the original text because it wasn't important to the narrator's journey.
Of course not.
Yeah.
Neither were gay people or black people.
Or any people.
Besides white women.
Besides upper middle class white women.
Don't you know that's where the struggles really lie? Okay, so the ale.
Yeah, so the ale. So immediately some people start coming out of these camps and approaching, and then the wise ones get there first and are like, "Olo, hail and well met," etc., etc. What can we do for you? And everyone is like, no, first Ruark is like, "Hey, wifey."
He's like, "Hey, boo-boo."
And Amis is like, "Hey, hubby, Amos." What do we
I don't
describe
know.
What do we decide her name is? It's gonna be different every fucking time. I just need you to accept that.
It's like Madeline Miller, who I saw last week. Someone wanted to ask a question about Patroclus, and they're like, "I don't know how to say it right." And he's like, "Listen, do any of us?"
Do any of us? That's the real question.
Yeah, she's like, "I've heard it pronounced every which way, and it doesn't matter because words are fake." And I was
All words are made up, including the name Amos or Amis or Amais.
Amy's.
Amy's.
Like Amy with an S.
Amy's. What's Ruark's, like, cute nickname for her? Measy.
Amyzy.
Measy. Yeah, so Ruark's like, "Hey, wifey," and she's like, "Hey, hubby," and then there's just, like, a little chat where everyone's like, "Holla, how we all doing?" And then Rand steps up and is like, "Hello, I would like," he does this really formal thing of asking to enter Ruidaean. And at some point in here, he gets, like, attacked by, or the men from one of the camps kind of, like, draw weapons. Mm-hmm. And the wise ones shut that down and are like, "Hey, fuck you. We can tell him yes if we want to. This is wise one's business because we're a matriarchal society, so fuck you." And this is where we're introduced to Couladin, who also informs us, "Oh, we're just here hanging out with, waiting for Couladin's brother to return from Ruidaean." Where it's the, like, tense situation to which they've stepped into is outlined really, like, right off the bat. The two camps, one's there for Ruark, basically to pick up Ruark. This is the carpool that is taking Ruark home. And also they were, like, escorting the wise ones, and they needed a fully armed battalion because they knew the Shido would be there.
It's very weird.
It's all very weird ale politics, but it's also, like, going to be relevant, I guess, for the next 3 books, so it's just interesting to watch our group of mainly idiots just literally stumble into this, appear out of nowhere, and then are just like, "Oh, we're having weapons pointed at us." Anyway, Rand asks to enter Ruidaean, and the wise ones unanimously grant him permission. So they're like, "Okay, great, off you go." And Matt's like, "I would also like to enter Ruidaean." And the wise ones are like, "But why?" Have you considered this?
Have you considered that as a bad idea?
Have you considered, white boy,
Yeah.
that you are not wanted in Ruidaean? This also, I think, really outrages the Shido, another word I'm just going to pronounce differently every time I say it. But Matt is basically like, I gotta do it. And Rand's like, "Well, I'll vouch for him," in a, again, uncharacteristic show of moral support. Rand does not usually give his friends
Any type of support.
Yeah, and the wise ones much more hesitantly are like, "Ah!" Yeah, they do that. Hit my hand on the table. They're like, "Yeah, you can go in, just know we are not legally liable for your life. We're telling you right now, you're probably gonna die." And Matt's like, "Yeah, well, I'm gonna die anyway, so maybe that'll count as
Yeah.
one of the times I die.
And everyone's like, what?
And everyone's like, what are you saying, Matt Cathon? And he's like, I can't be bothered to explain
Listen,
my
I'm
weird...
above the law.
Yeah, Matt's like, I'm just here, just doing my chaos thing. So then the wise ones are like, okay, you gotta drop your weapons and then hit the road, Jack.
But then here's another very sexy scene where they're like, drop all your knives.
Drop all your knives. And Edwin is like, Matt just starts with the knife on his belt and then just keeps going.
Yeah. He just makes a little, like, mound of
He
knives.
makes a mound of knives, and I am like,
cool.
really horny for that.
Yeah, like, where do you keep all of them?
Where do you keep all of them?
I like the one that's between his shoulder blades. I think we've talked about that before.
Yeah, and he even makes a big show of being like, okay, I'm all done, and then remembers the one in his boot because he decides he can't get away with it.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I forgot. And all the wise ones are like, we're impressed, buddy.
And the wise ones are like, okay.
They're like, oh, okay. This impresses even the ale, Edwin tells us. Rourke's like, oh, depths to this young lad. This slippery young
Hidden depths.
lad who's always dirty. Just so dirty. Anyway, the wise ones are like, okay, off you go. Off you run. Go play in the street. And they're like, great, okay, bye. And leave, chatting. Meanwhile, the wise ones whip around to look at Avienda, who's attempting to sneak off swiper no swiping style.
Sniper no sniping style. It's a little bit more characteristically
Oh god,
accurate.
I just imagine a warfare scenario where you could say, sniper no sniping! And every sniper had to be like, alright, you got us.
You got me this time.
You got us, boys.
Infantry.
Infantrymen.
You got us this time. Imagine how differently every battle in World War II would have gone.
Yeah, imagine if there was honor in warfare.
Oh, shit.
I'm gonna cut that out.
Don't cut that out. Okay, you can cut it out.
What?
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 What? What?
I can just see the, like, mania in your eyes.
I'm just looking.
I know, I'm sorry, we'll
What?
try and get through this.
We're
Okay.
doing great.
So the wise ones are like, Avienda, you gotta go to Ruidan. And she's like, Mom, I don't wanna. And they're like, too bad,
Yeah.
Missy. And that is when Edwin realizes, oh, Avienda can channel. Also, it's now been revealed that a couple of the wise ones can channel.
2 out of the 4, right?
2 out of the 4, yeah. Edwin now realizes, oh, I've suddenly acquired, I've leveled up, and so I've acquired the power to tell when women around me can channel. So that includes Moiraine and Avienda and a couple of the 4 wise ones.
So the wise ones, it's Amy's.
It's Amy's.
Amy's, Bear, Cerealia,
Sienna, I think is her name.
Sienna,
And Melaine.
Melaine, that's right.
And spoiler alert, only 3 out of 4 of these will be important, because I believe Sienna dies in this book.
Sounds right.
Or possibly in the next book. And her place is more or less co-opted by another wise one that we're introduced to later, whose name is Soralia. So it's kind of like there are always 4 wise ones on the radar, but...
Which is interesting. Usually it's like 3 old women.
I was going to comment on
Yeah.
that too. It's very interesting that we're not graded by the archetypal 3 women.
Especially when they've got this voting system where, like, you could have a stalemate constantly with 4
You could have
women.
an even split.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
It is very interesting. They later tell us that they're the only 4 wise ones who can dream walk, which is pretty buck wild to me.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's a rare ability, but it also is kind of made to seem as like, oh, the Ale have got this at least on lock. So, I don't know, kind of a weird thing to think about. But yeah, they're not like doing the 3 Fates thing or the Morrigan or however...
Witches from Macbeth.
Yeah, the witches from Macbeth, however many other groups of 3 mystical women you want to do. In a way that makes them feel just like tonally way more benign.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like, instead of feeling ominous and threatened by the presence of 3 women, which readers of fantasy, I think, usually do, it's just kind of like, oh, 4 ladies.
Yeah.
They're on my side.
Yeah, it's that horizon of expectations you get from reading fantasy that's just, like, shattered here. And then you don't really know what to expect.
Yeah. Because in the Ale Waste, nothing you expect really happens.
Yep. It's
Lots
weird.
of lots of weird shit happens.
Yeah.
Some of it is expected. I think the news about Rand's parentage that we'll get in a few chapters is pretty cliche, but also...
Because even here they talk a little bit, because Couladin's like, he's not even ale, and they're like, shut up, look at his ginger-ass hair.
Yeah, everyone's like, he look ale.
So
jot that down, Couladin.
Yeah. And then Egg
Kool-Aid man. Kool-Aid Man say when he breaks the
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God. Oh. Why did they give the Kool-Aid Man a phrase that is also used so frequently in sex?
Oh, gross. God, I hope nobody's just, like, saying it like the Kool-Aid Man.
I have to, like, get up and leave. Oh, I feel
Emma's
dirty.
gotta go take a shower.
Oh.
Anyway, Egg is like, Rand's dad was an ale, and they're like, don't be sexist. Egg treating
His mom wasn't. No,
wait.
It's
She's,
the
yeah,
other way.
she's like, his mom was an ale, and they're like, don't be sexist, Egg. His dad was an ale.
She's like, but Tam.
And they're like, who?
Adoption is the thing, Egg.
Yeah.
Calm
Sorry, I
down.
mixed that up. Tigraine.
Who cares? Rand's parentage is so fucking weird anyway. In a way, I kind of admire that his actual biological father is mentioned once and then never
Yeah,
again.
and everyone's like, we don't know what the fuck.
Yeah, it's kind of like a power move. It's just like, random dude.
But he does also have 2 moms die. Which makes him, like, the supreme male protagonist.
Yeah, it is pretty upsetting. God, Rand is such an anime protagonist when you think about it. He's got a dead mom and weird colored hair.
Yeah, and he's, like,
Comparatively.
yeah, and dresses weird.
God, how am I possibly going to figure out how to edit this episode? It's all
3
so good.
girlfriends.
It's all so quality.
Maybe let's have a long episode. We can
Hey,
call
yeah.
it long episode.
Welcome to Long Episode. So,
They take Avienda's weapons and are like, get naked and get
no,
going.
there's something else I was going to say, and now I forgot. Oh, the 4 women thing. It just sort of immediately, as we said, sort of sets the horizon for, hey, what you expect to happen is not going to happen, which sort of eases you into the chapters that are coming up where the really world-shattering, like, revelations about the ale are dispensed. Maybe not world-shattering to us, but world-shattering certainly within the context of the world.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of is bracing you for that. And even if you're kind of like, I don't really get it and I don't get why this is a big deal, it's still such a weird format for those chapters.
Yeah.
So kind of just weirdness. Yeah, setting that horizon of expectations a little differently.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're like, Avienda, give us your weapons. And she's like, but all of them are weapons. And they're like, sucks to suck. And she's like, fine. Gives up all her weapons, takes off all her clothes, and they're like, go run through the desert now. And she's like, fine. And leaves after a brief hand squeeze with Egg, which is like gay.
Gay as hell.
Yeah, it's so fucking gay.
But yeah, Avienda just takes off sprinting for...
Yeah.
And Egg's like, she's gonna catch up with Matt and Rand.
She's like, oh, damn, that was a fucking powerhouse there. And then the wise ones are like, why don't y'all ladies come to our tent? Lan, no boys allowed. So stay out, go bro out with Ruark or whatever it is you do when you're alone. Lan's like, I just stare into the distance and think about pain.
And they're like, okay.
Like, oh, you're the worst. And he's like, I know, why would anyone fall in love with me?
But have you seen the actor that plays him?
But have you seen the actor who plays it? He's like, I know, but have you seen my face?
He's like, I know, but have you seen the actor who will play me in the adaptation?
Everyone's like, oh.
And everyone's like, shit, you're right.
It makes sense. Anyway, they
One
go
day
up.
they're gonna cast Ruark. Isn't that exciting?
It is pretty exciting.
Yeah.
But the sex appeal, I don't care who he is.
Yeah.
It's gonna be
honestly.
off the charts.
Yeah. I just can't wait until they're like, and here are a bunch of redheads.
Every ginger in
Hollywood.
in Britain or whatever.
In Britain's Hollywood.
And everyone who's here, we can
Brollywood.
reasonably die, is here.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they go up to the tent, have a little discussion between the wise ones and Moiraine and Edwin. Moiraine's kind of like, yo, I didn't really know y'all could channel. Like, you should let the White Tower step in and culturally appropriate, or whatever it is we do, so that we can train you the way we want to. And the ladies are like, we'll take that under consideration, but it's going to be a no from us. Just preemptively letting you know. It'll be a no. And Egg's like, can we talk about dreams? And they're like, no, shut up, you foolish lass.
You foolish idiot.
And then they're kind of talking about Ruidaean, and it comes up that wise ones take 2 tests, and one of them involves, like, stepping into a tearing braille. Edwin immediately realizes that kind of shows you future things. And they also are, like, they're, like, talking about their ability to see the future in dreams and how some things are certain, some things are very much not. Like, they all knew that Ruark would be arriving back from the waste today and that Moiraine would be with him, but they didn't know anything about, like, Rand or Matt or Edwene. So it's kind of like, it's very much in flux. But they sort of let slip that Moiraine is supposed to go into Ruadan, and she just, like, skims right over that, but then a second later is like, so do I also have to disrobe? And they're like, fine, yes. And then Moiraine takes off all her clothes and sprints out into the desert.
Legend.
Yeah, super legendary. Probably the coolest, second coolest Moiraine moment.
Yeah. She really puts them tightly together in books 4 and 5.
Yeah, she's just like, all right, well, peace out. I'm hella naked. And then they're like, all right, later. Later days. Good luck. Goodbye. And off she goes. Meanwhile, they finally start talking to Egg about dreaming. And they're like, well, you gotta submit to our training. And Egg is like, that sounds fine to me. I'm just here to learn, because I've got big ambitions.
Ooh. I like that.
I can't remember. That's pretty
and then
much
they're
the
just
end of the
like,
scene.
you have to repeat exactly what we say to us, or you're gonna get, I don't know, punished. And Egg's like, okay.
Yeah, they say something about, like, oh, we don't want people going to the White Tower because they'll get soft. Like, our ways of training are not coddling young women. And Egg is like, I did more manual labor at the White Tower than I ever did in my life as a farm girl. So
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure.
I don't really know what to expect here.
I don't really know how to interpret that, but I'm excited to find out.
Mark me down as scared and horny.
Horny for learning.
Ooh, Egg is horny for learning.
I know, Egg is the character who's most horny for learning in all of literature.
There's her antithesis, Matt.
Yes. Who's like, fuck me, new knowledge? I don't want
I
that.
don't want that shit.
Keep it far away from me.
Yeah, but lo and behold, Matron.
But
You're
lo
about
and
to
behold,
get
he's about to
inundated.
get hung by a tree from knowledge.
It's the tree
For
of
knowledge.
knowledge.
It's the tree of, yeah.
It's the tree of life or something.
It's
Yggdrasil or whatever.
Yeah.
They call it Avendasor, which I think is derivative of something in Lord of the Rings. I think there's some tree.
Probably is.
I have to
I'm gonna
Google
look it up. Okay, I'll start
What do you
talking
think
about...
will happen if I Google Lord of the Rings fancy tree? It's fine.
I bet the tree of
I
Gondor
know.
will come up.
Fancy tree.
Lord of the Rings mythology, maybe?
Did you mean Lord of the Rings fancy dress? No, I didn't.
I did mean Lord of the Rings fancy dress. Specifically, I meant that dress where you can just see Liv Tyler's entire boob. Which really struck a chord in 14-year-old Emily, let me tell you that.
No, the trees in the Legendarium are Telperion and Laurelin. So I don't know what I'm getting Avendasor from.
Don't know, pal.
My brain, maybe.
Anyway, Matt and Rand are walking through... Well, actually, we pick up with them right outside the bank of fog, and they're just, like, staring at it in a crouch. Matt has a rock in his mouth, which is just, like, the typical way to start a Matt chapter, I feel.
It's like the rock in my mouth isn't working.
He's just like, rah!
And we're like, what?
And spits it out. And Rand's like, well, I guess we gotta go in there. And Matt's like, you know what's buck wild is I told you a little while ago that a naked woman ran past us, and you just brushed that off. And Rand's like, I'm descending into madness, Matt. I can't be bothered by such trifles. And Matt is like, a naked woman running through the desert. She just ran right past us.
Yeah, it's not a trifle. It's a bit alarming. It's a trifle alarming.
It's a trifle weird.
Yeah, and Rand's like, I don't even know if you saw what you saw. And Matt's like, listen, I know a naked woman when I see one.
Matt's like, in a mirage, I would see water, not a naked female. Maybe later. I'd see
maybe
a
after I
naked
had
female.
water.
But Maslow's hierarchy of needs, Rand. Water first.
Titties.
Water comes before titties.
Not
On
much
Maslow's-
before titties. But it still does.
Anyway, so they walk into the fog and enter Ruadan, which is actually a really fascinating setting because it is almost the antithesis of the ruined city that we talked about a bit when we were in Shadar Lagoth.
Mm-hmm.
Ruins are so, like, cliche in fantasy, not necessarily in a bad way because they represent so much. Like, ruins are just like a setting in fantasy. It's like, yeah, you're gonna have a magical forest at some point and you're gonna have a ruined city. But then you have Ruadan, which is like a city that is completely fine, doesn't seem to be in any state of decay.
Yeah, but it's, like, incomplete.
But is incomplete.
Yeah.
Which is almost so much freakier.
Yeah.
Because it's just, like, cut off in a really freaky way. Rather than, like, a slow descent, it's just, like...
Yeah, we've got the difference between, like, decay and, like, I don't know. This,
execution,
like,
almost.
Yeah. It's very weird. It's interesting that you bring up Shadar Lagoth when you said they were walking into the fog. That was the first time I sort of connected the two cities in my brain.
Yeah, they're like the two big haunted cities.
Yeah. And two places where huge things happen to Matt in terms of...
Yeah, that's interesting.
His construction as a character. This is a completely random thought that I'm hoping we can talk a little bit more about in later chapters, but I've been reading deeply for the first time, Fair Mendelssohn's Rhetorics of Fantasy. Like, I've studied the text in, like, abridged versions, but this is the first time I'm reading it, and the chapter on immersive fantasy talks about how characters, like, immersive fantasy is the one most associated with cities, because cities are so insular. And also talks about how, like, the characters that make the points of view that make immersive fantasies feel most immersive are characters who are actually, like, antagonists against their world and fight against the social order, which are two things that are very connected with Matt. Like, he's the predominant, like, quote-unquote antagonist against the order, and he's also very associated with cities and mythological levels and just personal level. So.
Yeah, I'm not sure why Matt is such, like, an urban character, but he's the one who gets out of, you know, the farm town in which he was raised and immediately is like, nope, cities are my shtick. He's just, like, never wants to leave cities. It's very interesting and weird.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, I can't really think of any symbolic or mythological reasons for that beyond what you've said about Farrah Mendelssohn and just kind of, like, Matt's character, but I don't know, it just seems like it should be significant that, yeah, these two really world-shattering things happen to Matt in empty cities.
Yeah. And my point with those two things about Matt is, as we've argued, like, Matt is the character that feels most immersed in his own point of view.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Like, he's the one that reads most completely in his world, which is interesting. But, yeah, it is very interesting then to see, like, his life lived in, like, functioning cities and his life, like, broken in these ruined cities. It's very interesting.
That's true, yeah.
Broken, quote unquote.
It's like as soon as Matt exits, but then it's also interesting because you have these other major sites of trauma in cities that come under attack.
Yeah.
Like Abu Dar is another of Matt's major cities, and I think it's weirdly significant that what happens to that city is very reflective of what happens to Matt. Like, that city at the end gets violently taken over and is then under occupation, while Matt also gets more or less violently taken over and is then trapped.
Yeah.
Kind of there under occupation. It's a very...
Yeah.
Tracing Matt's storyline through cities is pretty wild.
That's a fun essay blossoming.
I know, that's a
that
fun...
we
yeah.
have.
It's a fun idea.
Yeah, and it's also very... Because I think most often when you equate the landscape is always symbolic in fantasy. Like,
sure, yeah.
Even when we go back to, like, early EHR, when we talked about the concept of thinning, like, the landscape is always undergoing some form of, like, moral and therefore symbolic decay because some evil is rising. So, like...
Yeah, literally at the end of the series, Wheel of Time, like, the landscape starts to crack apart.
Ooh, spooky.
It's very spooky, and it just starts happening in the very last book, and it becomes this really major plot point, and it revolves around the heavy use of balefire, which is kind of like a nuclear weapon, you know? But it's like the more people use that, the more the world starts to just, like, literally crack apart. Yeah. It's very scary.
That is very spooky.
But yeah, that's, just good fantasy writing, is landscape reflects.
Yeah, like the fabric of the universe. And not even in, like, in a lot of ways it is, like, moral, especially because fantasy is so tied to dark versus, or good versus evil. I don't like dark versus light anymore.
Yeah, no, that's racist.
Good versus evil. But, yeah, it is also interesting to track, like, bodies in Matt's way alongside a landscape. Because we don't technically usually think of the city as a traditional landscape.
Yeah.
So, it's just, whatever, I'm just waxing, but it's interesting.
Another fun point is that Ruidaean becomes a complete city. like, Rand at the end of this book is going to, like, bring that water up out of the, like, earth, and Rurodane's gonna kind of become this populated oasis.
Yeah.
In this interesting way. And similarly, this is the site where Matt's head is repopulated by memories.
Mm-hmm.
And Shadar Logoth just has no good things happen to it, because nothing good is connected to what happens to Matt. I don't know. Yeah.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting that Matt loses something in one empty city and regains it in another empty city. Anyway, so Rurodane, very kind of creepy setting, especially once we kind of learn what is up in Rand's point of view in upcoming chapters. But there's, like, all these really high, it's meant to be kind of like a modern city. Mm-hmm. All the buildings are very tall and big and grand. There are fountains, which Rand apparently channels to make water appear in one of the fountains, and it takes Matt a full, like, page and a half to realize he's channeled. He's just like, water?
Mm-hmm.
Goes and stands under it, like a...
Yeah, like a dog. Like Tibble under the sink. He's just like, like rolling in it.
I fucking loves the sink. Yeah, Matt's just like, water, give it to me. And Rand's like, I should have thought of that earlier. And Matt's like, oh, duh, it was channeling.
It's like, I'm so stupid.
Matt's like, why can't I think things?
Why don't this brain work?
But anyway, they just kind of follow the road to the center of the city where all roads intersect in this big town square. Well, I guess it's more of a circle. And this, again, is just like an interesting visual when you picture the bird's eye view of it. Mm-hmm. That there are all these paths that lead to the columns, the glass columns that Rand goes through. But in between all those paths are just like wild collections of sources of power, Terangriel and Angriel and all this stuff. And then also there's the 100-foot tree.
Yeah.
In the middle. 100 feet is so tall, you guys.
So tall.
A 100-foot tree. And Matt goes up and is like, I want to touch it. And tries to get a leaf. He jumps to get a leaf.
But he can't reach it.
I know. He's like that teenage boy who always has to slap the door
frame.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's Matt.
That is
same
Matt.
lizard brain.
Yep.
But then he's like, oh, I feel peaceful. And we have our little connection to Buddhism here.
Yeah. Talking to, I can't remember the fantasy name, but they mention Siddhartha.
Yeah.
Gautama, yeah. Gautama.
Getting enlightenment under the tree.
Getting enlightened and having food brought to him by birds and things.
And Matt's like, I can maybe see the enlightenment, but the food by birds is a little much.
Yeah, Matt's like, not okay. I want to pick my own food, thank you. And Rand's like, okay, I guess I have to go through the columns now, but I don't think you should come with me. And Matt's like, no, I should come with you. I gotta do the thing. And Rand's like, I think you should just stay here. And Matt's like, well, let's flip a coin on it. So they flip a coin, but the coin falls on its edge, and then Rand channels to make it fall so that Matt will stay out. And Matt's like, I got it that time. I understood. You channeled. And Rand's like, perhaps.
Nothing gets past me. Mine like a steel trap.
Yeah. And Matt's like, okay, fine. Then I'll stay out here. Interesting for you to show compassion for my well-being, Rand. Go for it, I guess.
But Rand's like already gone.
Rand's like, goodbye, I've left. Maybe in the next chapters we'll talk about Rand and Matt's weird relationship in this particular book.
Odd.
But Matt kind of is just like, okay, I'll wait for an hour and then I'll go in after him. Which one wonders how that timeline would have gone.
Matt be like, what the fuck?
Given that time is weird in Rurodan, like, I think that they actually spend 7 days here.
Yeah.
Or something. It's just like, you don't know then if, while Rand is gone, you know, if the time passes in between them going through the fog or whatever, or if this means Matt was literally hanged for multiple days.
Yeah.
And, you know, it just works because I was thinking today about how he's hanged from the Tree of Life, and is it then the Tree of Life that kind of keeps him alive enough for Rand to resuscitate him? Sorry if you can hear rustling noises in the background. Tyndall is determined to make noise even from his prison.
It's like you thought you heard the last of me.
Nope.
I'm surprised he's not yelling yet.
But Matt then discovers another doorway. And it's very interesting in this chapter. Matt does make particular note of the things that he's going to end up getting from them. He says something about, I just wish I was so far away from the power. I wish I had a way to never be close to it again. And he also says something about wanting to have his memories filled, which are pretty familiar dodges for Matt, but in this chapter particularly.
Yeah,
They're
they
kind of
become our, like,
significant.
our signposts.
Yeah, our anchor points a little
yes,
bit.
thank you. Oh my god, I can never think of the word anchor.
Anyway, so Matt, in his fit of mania, is like, I guess I'll go through the doorway. And does. And is like, those aren't the snake people, these are the fox people.
Son of a bitch.
Son of a bitch, there's this dude who looks like a fox, and he's wearing human leather.
Yeah, which is gross.
Some gross thing.
Yeah.
But he's like, sort of the same thing as last time. Matt's like, okay, take me to where I need to go. And the guy's like, sure, come along.
He's like, did you bring any fucking instrument?
Did you bring any music, you son of a bitch?
Matt's like, no.
Matt's like, no, do I look like a musical boy? I mean, a little bit, yeah.
A little jaunty.
I like a dance. I like a jig.
Click my heels every once in a while.
It's pretty sad that there's not a canonical moment where Matt gets so excited he clicks his heels.
There is in my heart.
Yeah, there is. But this fox guy takes him to another room where he is met with not 3, which I think was the case in the last place, but like 6 people.
Yeah, a lot. It's, again, that subversion of the rule of 3s that is
Yeah.
unsettling in this case.
Yeah, and there's all these like star shapes here,
Yeah.
and it's all very unsettling. Matt talks about, the horrifying thing of looking behind you and, where you came from is gone. And passing by the same place multiple points, it's just labyrinth-like. Sorry, I was just thinking about how they describe the, like, lady fox's hair, how it, like, comes up in a crest, and then I was kind of like, is that, like, David Bowie in the labyrinth,
Maybe she is David Bowie.
Maybe. But anyway, Matt comes in and is like, are you going to answer my questions? And they're like, Matt's like, please.
Yeah, and they're like, tell us what you need or something.
It's like an obvious case of miscommunication when you read it knowing what is going on, but they are basically like, what do you want? And Matt says, okay, well, for starters, I want... They don't even ask him, he just sort of says it.
Yeah, I think, because he's asking all these questions and they're like freaking out. And then Matt, of course, short-tempered, just like, okay, I want this and this and this.
Yeah, he's like, I want you to give me an answer to my questions or something like that, but I think they, like, literally can't do that.
Yeah.
So he's like, and I want the holes in my memories filled. I want to have a way to be free of Aes Sedai and the power, which is interesting, because Moiraine told us you're not supposed to mention the power or something in the last one, but skimming right over that. And he's like, and I want to get back to Ruadan. And they're like,
you got it.
Oh, that was such a creepy smile you did to me. It kind of sent a little chill down my back.
Thank you. It was supposed to be.
That was good. Give me a little thrill.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, sure, babe, we got you. And they all say deal, and it's so creepy.
Yeah.
And I was like,
yeah.
And they call him fool multiple times, which, Matt is the fool character, that particular archetype. Matt is, if you think of the fool in King Lear, who's one of my all-time favorite Shakespearean characters, especially because he just disappears halfway through.
And he's like, bye!
He's like, bye, bitches, and leaves.
He's like, I don't get paid enough
He's
for
like,
this shit.
I'm out. Probably because there was some, like, weird editing of Shakespeare's manuscripts.
Yeah. But also, I love
but also
the idea
that's good chaotic energy.
that Willie Shakes was like, this guy would just fuck off.
Yeah, he's just like, no, I can't be fucking bothered by this bullshit going down. And that has big Matt energy, you know? Mm-hmm. That fool in King Lear who's just like, you're an idiot, and you're an idiot. We're all idiots.
Yeah. How iconic would it be if just halfway through the series Matt was like, bye?
It would be...
Matt just, like, finally got to fuck off.
Like, I mean, I would stop reading this series, but also that would be the funniest thing
Wouldn't
of all
it be
time.
so good?
Talk about subverting expectations.
Yeah, Matt was just like, I'm done.
You're like, here's one of your big 3, and Matt is like, Dunzo, I am out.
Yeah, I am outie.
Peace out. A building fell on top of me? I am retired.
Yeah.
Fucking try and bring me back into the game, Perrin.
Retired from warfare. Retired from being chosen.
This is dumb.
Yeah.
And I'm out.
Yeah.
Take care of Armageddon without me. I will be pursuing a life of piracy.
Matt would be such
on
a
the
good
open
pirate.
Seas with the sea folk. I feel like we'd get along.
Yeah. What if Matt and Talmonies just became gay pirates halfway through the series?
So good. If Matt and Talmonies were just like, goodbye. And Perrin was like, oh no, we gotta get Matt back for the last battle. He can direct our forces. And Matt was like, no!
Me and my husband are captaining
Matt was
a
like,
ship.
nowhere to be found.
Yeah, they're just out in the open sea somewhere.
Yeah, just loving the ocean.
Yeah. So
the
good.
last place that the dark one will reach? The middle of the fucking ocean.
Yeah.
It's the safest place. Except
During
for sharks.
Armageddon.
And hopefully you have enough citrus fruits to keep you away from scurvy.
Do you think sharks would fight on the side of the light?
Obviously, I've thought about this a great deal. I don't think sharks have a moral code.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it is very anthropomorphic of me to assume that sharks subscribe to the type of moral dilemmas that humans do.
Yeah, I don't think sharks could be bothered by that bullshit. I also don't think you could bribe sharks to do particular things, you know?
I think they're unbribable.
I just think, like, sharks are like, we're gonna do what we're gonna do, you know?
Yeah.
If you come into the ocean, no matter who you are, it's our right to kill you.
That's the only moral code they
Yeah, that's the
subscribe to.
only moral code that's their law. That's
Only one.
Hammerhead-urabi's law. What's his name?
Hammurabi?
Hammerhead-urabi.
Pretty sure it's Hammurabi.
You're so I took history classes and I am 100% sure you are right.
Yeah, Hammurabi.
It's Hammurabi's code. We get to eat anyone who enters the ocean.
Hammurabi, of course, being the shark god.
Yeah, obviously.
Actually, Hammurabi, that's what Emily said.
No, Hammerhead-urabi. God, my pun game is on
Hammerhead-urabi.
episode. That'll be the fun title of this episode.
Hammerhead-urabi.
No, the title of this episode is Long Episode.
Long episode, Hammerhead-urabi.
Anyway, so Matt gets called a fool and is like, they're like, you didn't even request, like, you didn't talk about payment before making your demands. You fucking idiot. Can't do bargaining under these terms. And then it all goes dark very suddenly and Matt is suffocating, and for the first of, I believe, 2 times within the series, Matt's point of view just ends mid-sentence.
Yep. It's very unsettling.
It is super unsettling.
I'm always like, why do you gotta keep hurting Matt?
I know,
You know?
Matt just gets injured in horrible ways so often.
Yeah. Pattern's just trying so hard to keep him
Pattern's
from
like,
fucking off in the middle of the ocean.
We have to break your legs!
Gotta break your leg, gotta hang you, gotta break your legs, gotta steal your memories, gotta give you a dagger.
Yep.
Gotta give you a tiny wife.
Tiny wife! I love my tiny wife.
Don't we all?
Don't we all? Anyway, that is where this episode ends. Reaching the 1 hour mark.
Sorry.
It is
You can
okay.
cut out so much of the beginning.
I'll cut out a lot of the beginning, but I still feel we'll be pretty over time. But that said, hope you enjoyed it. I know we sort of got our shit together in the middle there to talk about fantasy stuff, so hopefully that was good for you. But also we did some good jokes, maybe.
Hammerhead-urabi is a good joke.
Hammerhead-urabi was a pretty good one. Thank you so much to Glenna McKenzie for the use of our theme song, which I always want to call It's a Departure.
I know. I literally just said it in my head and I was like, don't say it out loud,
I know,
idiot. Don't
it's
say it
just
out
so
loud.
bad. Glenna, could you name the theme song for me?
Glenna, can you pick a name so that we stop making this dumb bim bam joke?
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
You can name it whatever you want. You can put a vote out on the... Maybe not whatever you want.
No, you can be whatever you want.
Please don't name it Tub Thumping by Glenna McKenzie. But tub spelled a little bit differently.
Tub with 2 B's. Tub thump
Tub thumping.
Anyway, Glenna, if you could just get on that. I'm so sorry.
It's funny.
Thank you all for listening. And do you really want me to put the dead mouse story in here as my sign-off, or do you have a sign-off?
I was just going to mention that we've had Tybalt for a year, which is a tragedy for all of us.
What's our sign-off?
I don't know.
Something don't do a war crime?
Oh, yeah. Remember to be slutty and don't do work.
Be slutty and don't do war crimes. Goodbye.
Bye.